Trigger warning: grief and loss, legal disputes, property matters, family dynamics. Father and mother passed away, and a lawyer is saying their property joined an HOA after their passed away. My father moved into a rural area in 1980, a few years after I was born, and soon came my sister. They stayed there ever since. We grew up, etc., etc. Dad passed away in 2012, and Mom passed away in December 2018. My sister moved away in 2002 to get married, have kids, etc., and doesn't want to be involved in the affairs since I am the eldest son and she lives 3/4 of the country away. Over the years, the area has developed and is now more of a suburb. Either way, I take possession of the house through the will, the affairs of the estate, etc. There is nothing to worry about. I got a letter in the mail in February saying that my parents agreed after their pass away to sell the house through a trust to the HOA, and the property would be up for sale. I find no such documentation, and my demand to the lawyer is going unanswered to provide the written documentation. I've left a few messages with the admin there, but I am not putting any effort into it if they are not going to respond. I am not one for sentimental value, and I really am not attached to the house. So if they want it, the price is going to be dictated by me, not them. I live a couple towns away, and I have no interest in moving in or even thinking about keeping it. 1. My dad was getting senile, and might have agreed to something. 2. My mom is a pushover and might have agreed to something. 3. If it isn't in writing, does that mean it is useless? 4. What if they do come after the sale? Should I just ask for top dollar, or fight it, making it a non-HOA house in an ocean of HOA property? Update: a lawyer for the HOA has been served and received certified mail demanding details. USPS.com confirms the lawyer received the letter on Friday. Gave him 7 days to produce documentation or evidence or cease and desist from any and all communications on this subject. Edit: after receiving my green slip back and leaving multiple voicemails, I finally got a letter in the mail, but it was basically saying it was a verbal agreement. Not going to fly. Good luck. I am sending a letter today demanding an in-person meeting with the lawyer and HOA members, or I will be asking the Board of Zoning to change it so I can install a wastewater treatment facility. Relevant comments: I scoured the paper my dad left behind. He was detailed in the paperwork for the house and paid it off in 1995. After that, all he ever did was pay the town taxes yearly. That was it. If not, I will doze it off and turn it into my own private park or something if no one approaches. The house is in terrible disrepair, to the point of wanting to put up a lighting rod and attach it to the frame of the house. I never went to probate. With the will and documents my parents had drawn up, it never got that far. In 2010, I dragged my parents to an attorney and made them go over their existing will, property, etc. Nothing was left to chance. I sold a van, cashed in some old stocks, etc. When my dad passed away, there was nothing to argue about. Clean paperwork. Oh yeah, I checked out the attorney, who is fully legit, has all the contact details, and even looked up the attorney's cases, all low-level non-confrontational issues such as tree lawsuits, easements, etc. Just nothing. So a paper pusher, but not getting a response by phone. I'll be sending a letter shortly. There is a lot of back and forth in the comments about what OOP might do to squatter that isn't relevant to the case at hand but is interesting to read for the board. Update: their lawyer wasn't responding in great detail, so I sent a notice to the homeowners directly around the property about the possibility of turning my parents' old property into a sewage treatment plant. Miraculously, the HOA called the next day, and I proposed a meeting and sold it for around what I wanted, which is a lot. So, after receiving a certified letter at the end of April from the HOA's attorney, he basically ignored me about the verbal agreement details. I contacted my corporate attorney, whom I've known for nearly 2 decades, and he's got a CT bar license, so he'll help if I need to. After not hearing from their attorney for over a couple weeks and leaving calls and messages with his admin, I realized that I was not going to get what I wanted, which was literally to talk to the guy and get the HOA's documentation. So one last college try at the end of April, and nothing still. I got SHT to do, and all I have now is a slab and some overgrown lawn, which, with the coming of spring and the constant rain, is turning into a mud pit. I live 2 towns over, and I don't have time for this. On May 3rd, I sent a notice to the surrounding houses that construction was to begin on a new sewage treatment plant, and to contact the HOA board for more information, knowing it would take USPS a day or 2. Bring the dozer back on a flatbed and plant it in the driveway where you can't miss it. At 8 a.m. on Tuesday the next week, I got a call from an HOA representative wanting to argue with me in regards to this new plant and so forth about property rights, ownership, etc. Not going to lie, choice words and yelling ensued, ending with, "If your goddamn lawyer would call me back, we wouldn't be having this discussion. Good luck with the smell." Keep in mind that nothing has been filed with the town. There is no real desire to create a sewage treatment plant, but if you want to ignore me, good luck. About 45 minutes later, I get a call on my cell from an attorney, and I swear to God I was talking to a hostage instead of a lawyer. I told him I would see him at my parents' address at 3 p.m., and we'd finish this deal one way or another and bring a laptop. I wanted to argue about not officially meeting in an office, blah blah, and I hung up. That was on May the 7th. I knew full well why I chose to send the letter on the 3rd, because on Wednesday coming up, the HOA board has its monthly meeting, so I wanted it on the agenda. For about an hour, calls would come in from the attorney's admin wanting to change it to his offices, wanting to work this out by mail, etc. Nope, 3 p.m. on site. I called my attorney. Luckily, he was out of court by 11 and would come down. I had lunch with him and headed back to the property. I grabbed a couple of lawn chairs and a folding table from my house, and my attorney brought a laptop and a printer. If you know my attorney, I've known him for decades, and he is a no bullshit, let's get it done, no mercy kind of guy right from law school. He went from corporate IP to family law, and dabbles in real estate. A good guy to know. 2:55 rolls around, and they show up. The lawyer and 2 board members. One looks like he should move to God's waiting room, and the other is a mid-50s kind of guy who's probably an orthodontist. We all make introductions and sit, and I say, this is how this is going to go. You want this property, and I want to sell it. I am tired of the games and the non-responsiveness. In the next 15 minutes, you're going to buy this property pending approval by the HOA board majority, and you can do whatever you want with this place. You'll own it free and clear. The orthodontist speaks and attempts to say, as conveyed to us by past board member, your father advised us that the property would automatically be transferred to the HOA upon your parents pass away. He actually sounded articulate, and, with some authority, I like him. Me, what documents do you have to support that? Ortho, nothing, just witnesses. Goes into a discussion on how it was told to them by board members and that their unresponsiveness was because they thought they were in the clear and had no reason to work with me because it was all legal. Blah blah, and they were going to get the property by some court decree shortly. I look over to my attorney and he looks back. Well, fortunately for you, that's at least 50% true. You'll get this property, but it's not free. Brass tacks, $30, 30.00. You pay all closing costs, and you'll have my signature the minute you have approval. We'll facilitate the documents and the routing wire information. The eyes of the crypt keeper and the ortho went wide, and he said, that's a lot of money. We'll have to bring it to the board to vote, but I am unsure. Good enough for me. We have some preliminary documents and an official letter to present, I said, looking over at my attorney, who was printing the documents away on the table. The lawyer says, well, it'll take up to 30 days. And the bank check will take as long for an entity of this type if this is approved. My attorney says the best thing I heard in a long time. Love you, Mark. We have e-file capability with 3-day turnaround filing to the state. Towns and wire transfers take no more than 15 minutes unless the feds are backed up. There's no title issue, no liens, and no environmental or waste removal issues. It's yours to enjoy as you see fit. I'll be available right after the HOA meeting to file the documents and Tuesday to receive the transfer. That's why he gets paid. He hands over the documents standard P&S with the amount just typed in with our cover letter for the board. I grabbed the ortho's business card. Apparently, he's a school administrator, the other guy is a retired electrician, and the attorneys as well. Well, the board meeting went. Well, I was told by a resident that it was a lot of arguing about not having documentation, wanting to actually challenge my ownership of the estate or property in court, and eventually the amount. Yeah, I asked a lot. But then again, they could have countered and didn't. It was not a good meeting. But in the end, it was approved. Apparently, another lawyer who was a resident basically told them they had no standing and I could do whatever I wanted with it, with or without the board's approval. I don't know if the HOA lawyer was there. My lawyer dropped by at 10:15 p.m. at a pub 99, and I signed the documents for the final P&S, and we had beers as he filed online. He said I would get a copy in a week and would file paper copies with the town. But the deal is done when the money is transferred. Today, at 8:15 a.m., I got a message that the HOA had initiated a wire transfer, and around 8:45 a.m., I got confirmation of the receipt of funds. My parents bought the place in December 1980 for $28,500. It served us well, and I flipped it nearly 27 times. It was a good home, but you have to move on. It'll be built or turned into a park or something, but alas, it's over and done with. Most of it is going to my kids' college and technical school tuition, and the rest goes to my sister for her kids. Thanks, Dad. Thank you for watching the video.